morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes every. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You
Good morning, Firmly Rooted family. Happy Wednesday morning. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries. The sun is shining, blue sky out in southeastern Michigan. Going to be a nice day today. Hope it is as well for you. We are looking at Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 8 through 15. Great to have all of you on board. Dr. Colleen, good morning. Chuck, good morning, family. Yeah, family. I say out there on X, good morning, firm rooted family. Where'd I go? There I am. My sister Trish, good morning. Alice, good morning. Karen, good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Man, there's a lot more people out there. Great to have all of you on board. Again, even though the Rooted Men's devotion is supposed to be for rooted men, if some of you would like to jump over there and take a look at that, I think it was a meaningful devotion this morning. Kevin, good morning. Glad that the surgery went well. We keep praying for your recovery, but man, oh man, I hope that this is it. Drama, good morning. Good to have you on board. All right. Let's talk about Habakkuk for a second, and then I'll get to the text. Aaron and I yesterday, we finished up maybe with a prescription. Everybody's got something going on, and what I mean by that is, like, even though we're struggling and running the race and fighting the fight, we're trying to live in the right kingdom. The fact is, the winds and the waves are everywhere. They could be in our business. They could be in our relationships. They could be out there in society. They could be in all the places at one time. I mean, the fact is, there's always winds and waves. And that's what Habakkuk is saying. I'm seeing the winds and waves, God, and they don't make sense to me because it's like you're not acting. It's like you're not doing what I thought or you would do. And then you got the whole thing with Nebuchadnezzar coming and Habakkuk saying, I don't get that. Why? As Aaron says, why would you take somebody more evil than us to punish us? And then he clarifies that he's going to take care of Nebuchadnezzar too, because in his arrogance, he has forsaken God and he has forgotten where he got his authority and power, and he's going to be humbled. And I mentioned that in Deuteronomy, one of the most repeated phrases is remember. Said another way, do not forget. But I like the positive. Remember. In the midst of a storm, we have to remember the God who has calmed storms in the past. Amidst the chaos, we need to remember a God who has entered in and caused the chaos to go away. We have to remember the God who has redeemed and saved Israel out of Egypt, brought them into a promised land. Did miraculous things in order to free them, that God fed them manna and quail in the desert for 40 years, that God provided them, protected them, we got to remember. Because, see, they were living in troubled times too. But we have to remember the character of God, because when we remember the character of God, then it hasn't changed, even though I'm having trouble seeing it. You see that? Even when the winds of the waves are bugging me, if I focus on who God is, because he's unchanging, even today, he's the same God who provided for Israel in the desert. He's that same God who forgave. He's that same God who set us free. Remember, we can't let a circumstance of the moment drown out all of biblical history and all of the history that God has proven himself faithful, even in our own lives. Matter of fact, when all hell breaks loose, rather than looking at hell breaking loose, we should be remembering what God is doing for us. I hope this is making sense, because as I said yesterday, it dawned on me God has not only told us how faithful he has been in the past, much of the book of Revelation is telling us how faithful he's going to be and what the end's like. We already know the end. So no wonder Paul says these momentary sufferings, these momentary moments can't compare to the eternal things that I know for sure. May we be today re-overwhelm ourselves with the eternal and watch the temporal winds and waves get smaller and smaller and less significant. They're still there, but they don't compare to what I really know, to what I know for certain. All right, let's pull up the text quick. We're going to do verses 8 through 15. Think about what Old Testament things he's remembering right now. Were you angry with the rivers, Lord? Was your wrath against the streams? Rivers, turning the Nile into blood, right? Did you rage against the sea when you rode your horses? The Dead Sea, separating so the children of Israel could go across it. And your chariots to victory, you uncovered your bow, you called for many arrows, you split the earth with the rivers, the mountains saw you and writhed. Torrents of water swept by, the deep roared and lifted its waves on high. He's talking about Exodus. Much of that is talking about Exodus. Then he jumps to Joshua. The sun and the moon stood still in the heavens at the glint of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear. Remember, they were holding up Moses' arms, and the sun stood still, and day lasted longer so that Joshua could win a battle. In wrath, you strode through the earth, and in anger, you threshed the nations. You made them pay. You're a just God, and you made the evil pay. You came out to deliver your people. Ah, there it is. You did all of that to deliver your people, to save your anointed ones, like Habakkuk, like you, like me. You crushed the leader of the land of the wickedness. You stripped him from head to foot. With his own spear, you pierced his head. When his warriors stormed out to scatter us, gloating as though about to devour the wretched who were in hiding, you trampled the sea with your horses and churning the great waters. Verse 15. Remember God's faithfulness. Remember when I say often that sometimes we see better when our eyes are closed? I don't mean that like a child who covers their eyes because they think somehow like an ostrich they're escaping the reality of the moment. What I mean is because there are two kingdoms, there is a reality that is more significant to than the temporary one in which we're living. There is this constant. There is a constant kingdom that is unchanging, never touched or marred or flawed or upset by what happens in the kingdom of this world. Actually, it's the other way around. That eternal kingdom keeps popping into this one, saving, redeeming, rescuing. We got to remember in the moments of darkness and the moments of overwhelmedness, we have to re-overwhelm ourselves with what's really true, what's eternally true, what is certain. Peter finally says in chapter 5, verse 10, after you've suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ Jesus, will himself perfect, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. Boom. We're going to suffer. We're going to face things. They do not compare. So remember what's really real. Remember what's really true. Say it over and over and over again. All right. I think I will leave it at that. Connie, good morning. Praise to him. Here as praise. Otherwise, I come as homeward bound. Yes, 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 yes. All right. I think that's it. I'll be back at about 20 minutes for prayer. I hope that this devotion was a blessing to you. Have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.